I'm a little bit nervous about filming today's video because I'm about to be sharing 5 fragrances that if I had the opportunity to buy them again, I probably wouldn't. And I may have talked about these fragrances before and I may have given them a positive review, but after having them in my collection of over 100 perfumes, I do have to compare them to each one of those perfumes. And in my personal life, I may have shied away from wearing these fragrances for the reasons I'm going to introduce in this video. If this is your first time watching, hello, my name is Anya. I love fragrances and I talk about them here every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, along with a ton of bonus content in between. I love to talk about niche, designer, and affordable fragrances, but I do happen to blind buy a lot of affordable perfumes because oftentimes those kinds of fragrances are not available to smell in person. So I do have to end up blind buying them. And of course, there are some fragrances that I love and some fragrances that I'm not super a fan of. So we're going to be talking about those today. I hope you're not going to be mad at me by the end of this video. But keep in mind, I am comparing these to 100 other fragrances. And just because I might not personally be wearing a scent doesn't mean it doesn't smell good or doesn't mean that it's not altogether suited for a good purpose. So I'm going to start off with a fragrance that already is going to probably be controversial. And this is from Pistachia Skincare and it's called Pistachia Biscotti. And I will put a disclaimer here. It might be because it's really hot out that this perfume is not one I'd reach for. I'm going to try it again, obviously, when it gets colder and I might love it. But right now, this is a perfume that's a little bit too cloying for me, especially in the summer heat. So this is a perfume with top notes of biscuit and cherry, a mid of nutty notes, cinnamon, spices, and floral notes, and then a base of vanilla, tonka bean, and sugar. This is a very photorealistic pistachio scent that is very sweet, it's very delicious. It has that cherry note and it has a little bit of a biscuit vibe to it as well. It smells really delicious, but I just haven't been wearing it because this is a perfume that's very cloying. And because of that, I'm kind of thinking, okay, would I have bought this perfume if it didn't if I had known that it would be this way? Probably not. I don't know. I'll try it again when it gets colder. But this is a perfume that to me is like a like right now. I don't love it as much as I did when I first bought it. And granted, it wasn't as hot back then as it is now. And I have worn it, I think, like 2 or 3 times. It is a very intense perfume, but then it dries down to something that's a little bit more subtle. It's more of a skin scent. It doesn't stay on the skin that long. It actually leaves rather quickly, which is a little bit puzzling because it kind of is really intense on the first spritz. And again, I'm going to reintroduce this into my rotation when it gets colder. But right now, this perfume is just not one that I love right now. And again, this is personal preference. My mind might change when it's colder out, but I would say this is like a $50 perfume, not like super expensive, but altogether, would I like to have spent that money on something else? Possibly, but I'm happy to be able to review it and I'm happy to have it in my collection so I can reference it for you and so I can provide you some comparisons with other options. I do really like Paris Corner's Pistachio a lot better than this, so I think that's probably why this one for me is like a lukewarm like at the moment. But again, my mind might change, but that's where I'm at with this perfume right now. Next up is a fragrance by Lattafa. This is Anya Abiyedh, and this is kind of an iconic fragrance, and I've had this in my collection a long time. I don't think I'll ever declutter it because it's good to reference this perfume, and it smells good. It's not a bad perfume by any means. This has top notes of bergamot and orange, a mid of vanilla and pear, and then a base note of musk and amber. So to me, this fragrance has like a little bit of a sweet vanilla musk that's kind of a signature in a lot of Lattafa fragrances. But for me right now, it smells a little bit cloying. And while I do think that this fragrance does smell good, especially when it gets a little bit cooler, I can't really imagine myself reaching for this fragrance anymore because I did have my moment of really liking this perfume, but now that moment has passed. So I will still reference this perfume and I still do think it's a good option if you're looking for like a first Lattafa fragrance or something that's more affordable. But this is just not something that I like anymore in my personal life. And now that I think of it, there are some other perfumes out there, new Lattafas, new Middle Eastern fragrances that I've tried that I do like better. They might be a slightly bit more expensive, but I'd rather pay a little bit more money for something that seems to be higher quality than something that's like under $20, but not something I reach for on a consistent basis. So That's my 2 cents on that. I still do think it's a pretty fragrance, but it's just not one I'm interested in anymore. So would I recommend it? Probably yes, if you're looking for a similar scent profile to say Baccarat Rouge, but something a little bit lighter. This has more citruses and it's more musky. But is it my favorite fragrance at the moment? No. Okay, so next up is Asad Dubai. This is also by Lattafa. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be mentioning a lot of Lattafa fragrances, or a lot of more affordable fragrances in this video, because those are the ones I blind buy on a consistent basis. This one is one that I bought in conjunction with the Abiyedh feminine version, which is the white and yellow bottle. That one smells like mango. This one smells like a lot of other things. So this one is about $35 right now, and it's meant for men, so keep that in mind. I have recommended this for men, but I have put a disclaimer even in that video that this fragrance goes in a lot of different directions, so it can be a little bit intimidating to some, but I do think it's rather unique. So it has top notes of pineapple and saffron, a mid of coffee and violet leaves, and then a base of butterscotch, vanilla, and sandalwood. So as you can see, it starts off one way. It starts off with pineapple, then it moves into coffee, then it moves into something like a little bit powdery, and then it ends at butterscotch, but then the pineapple stays with the whole journey, so you smell the pineapple consistently, but it goes into a different, like a few other different directions, meaning this is a very unique fragrance. It's definitely not anything like I've smelled before, and I guess I could say I appreciate them being inventive. This is a bit of a masculine perfume. It has like a spiciness to it that's very quintessentially masculine in my personal opinion, but this is not a perfume that I wear myself, hardly ever, if at all. I have sprayed it a few times to test it. I've given you my opinion on it. I do think it's more of a masculine scent, but to be fair, there are a lot of other scents that I prefer instead of just wearing this. So if I wasn't reviewing fragrances, I likely would never have bought this in the first place. You know, but I do think it's more quintessentially masculine, and while the scent pyramid is very interesting, I wouldn't say it's for the faint of heart. If you're looking for just a really good smelling fragrance, this might not be the one to try, but if you're a guy and you don't mind the scent pyramid, you don't mind it, it might be a good one for you. But I would say if you're looking for a feminine fragrance, this is not it. When you think butterscotch, you might be thinking something. It's not this. Think of like a very masculine pineapple throughout the entire process with a few of those other elements, but yeah. I feel like guys would like this. I do think it's an interesting fragrance. It doesn't smell bad. It smells good, but it doesn't smell amazing. How do I say this? I feel like it will be actually a very cozy fragrance to wear when it gets cold out. I can see this being a good fragrance on a guy, but I can't say that I would be excited to wear this even if it's cold, because there are other fragrances I'd like more. But if I smell this on a guy, I wouldn't be mad at it. I would, like, if it was a guy I was attracted to, I think I'd be like, I think I'd be drawn to it. Because it is, like, there's something about it that's kind of like cozy with that pineapple, but it's very quintessentially masculine, and it's just not something I'm looking for. I think the white one, the white and gold, or the white and yellow one is better, in my opinion, but this one is just not it for me. So these next perfumes, please don't be mad at me. I featured them recently, and I still do like them, but because I have 100 other fragrances, I don't reach for them as much, but I would recommend them if you're looking for something for everyday use, something basic, something that works. This is good, but are these anything to write home about? Probably not, but they smell nice. That's the thing, they smell nice, but they just don't really, like, I have 100 other fragrances to go with, so I don't really wear them. I've worn them to test them. I haven't really reached for them, so if I was given the opportunity to buy these fragrances again, I probably wouldn't. See where I'm going with this? So these fragrances are Alban by Lattafa. This is like a white floral fragrance. And then Muna. This is a ozonic, fruity, but also very floral fragrance. So like these are two floral fragrances. Muna to me, I feel like would be a prettier fragrance to wear in the fall. Even though in the scent pyramid, like, you wouldn't think that, but this is kind of like, it's a nice fragrance. It has some peony, it has rose, it has some watermelon at the top as well, but the watermelon isn't as prominent as I initially anticipated. And it does smell quite elegant. I do think both of these fragrances smell elegant, But these are just not perfumes that I'm reaching for right now because there's so many other perfumes that I'm like obsessed with. So these are just, yeah. But this other one, okay, let's smell this one. This one is like a little bit more, it's a little bit sweeter in a floral way. They're both beautiful. They're both really, really nice. They're under $20, so if you're looking for like a good basic fragrance to wear to work, to wear on an everyday basis, and you're not looking for anything that's going to blow anyone's socks off, you're just looking for something that will be a non-offensive, kind of like ladylike perfume to wear, these are really good, but they're not like wow, you know what I mean? They're good basics, and I believe I've mentioned that whenever I've talked about these, they're good basics. I've talked about this one as being a good fragrance to wear, a good everyday fragrance to wear that's like office friendly, and I do think there's something to be said about having a good fragrance that's office friendly, that smells good, but also is not something that's going to be too offensive to someone in an office setting, because you kind of have to consider other people. If you're going in for an in-person meeting with your superiors, you don't want to be taking up the room with your perfume. In that kind of situation, I'd probably wear these, but also there's some other fragrances that I would probably go for over these. So that's kind of like my personal dilemma, because my collection is getting to be a little bit out of control. I now have to make these like really hard decisions about, okay, just because I like some perfumes doesn't mean I'm going to be wearing them on my day to day, because I'm only one person and there are only 7 days in the week. So you get my drift. So anyway, those are all the perfumes I have to share. I hope you're not too offended by this video. I don't know why I'm freaking out so much. I've talked about this in a video before, but being a content creator kind of cultivates a sense of overconsumption, wherein if I didn't have this content creation hobby that I have right now, I probably wouldn't buy like 50% of the perfumes that I currently have. And because I'm always trying to discover the new things for you and review the fragrances for you, I end up blind buying a lot, and at the same time I'm smelling a lot, so I'm becoming even more discerning. So there are so many fragrances out there constantly, like, so I can tell you, okay, these are gonna smell really nice, but am I gonna wear them myself? Probably not. And I do think it kind of it makes me think about other larger fragrance creators, the fragrance creators with like 1,000 bottles. Are they really wearing all their perfumes? If they had a video like this, like what kind of perfumes would they include? And part of me feels a little bit guilty because I am recommending these perfumes to you, but I still do think that these perfumes are well suited for a certain type of situation, but that situation is not always going to come across for me. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Let me know, what are your perfumes that you wouldn't necessarily want to repurchase if you had the opportunity? Do you want to see more videos like these where I kind of shred the perfumes in my collection? I'd be curious to know what your thoughts are on these perfumes if you've ever tried them. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it entertaining, and I'll see you next time. Bye.